Originally, this video was supposed to cover the first Steam Games Festival, the best thing to have come out of the Game Awards and for some the only good thing to have come out of them, with 13 demos for upcoming games playable for a limited time, reaching from the anticipated to the just bad. I was going to talk about acid trips, about the lifestyle of a drifter, about the trip eastward and about how much I'm looking forward to Haven. Obviously, that didn't happen because it turned out that most of them ended up being just fine, nothing special, which while writing seemed like it would make for a boring video. So I scrapped the idea and thought that if it would happen again, it would be at the next Game Awards. Seems like I was wrong because due to popular demand, we already have another Steam Games Festival, where they upped the numbers from 13 to 51. And with a lot of returners being here, I decided to combine both festivals and tackle them in this video. So, welcome to the Steam Games Festivals! "11 demos are for games which are available for purchase right now. 6 have been released last year, 5 are in early access and 2 had their original release on the Epic Games Store, with one of them still being exclusive to their platform. Something many of those titles have in common is a low review count, being somewhere between 3 and 57, which could suggest a low buyer count. Perhaps they were hoping to have a bigger turnout through visibility in the festival. It didn't work out that well if we only go with how many more reviews have appeared on their Steam pages. Out of those games, I would recommend looking into Coffee Talk, the barista version of Valhalla, Operencia, the dungeon crawler by the makers of Pinball FX, and Superliminal, the game that sees size as a matter of perspective. "20 demos feature games with a pixel art style of varying quality, showing its continued status as the most used art style for indie games. Some are charming like Coffee Talk, some are simplistic 8-bit like Jay and Silent Bob Maw Brawl, and some are pushy and pully in Blockland, which looks like something ripped straight from one of those plug-and-play consoles with 70,000 games in one. The best looking ones in this category are Evans Remains, a platforming puzzler, A Space for the Unbound, a game about exploring the inner personalities in a story that could also work for an anime movie, and Barbarian, a game that starts like this. Let's face something, most of these games who take part in the Games Festival are going to fail because they give the impression that they're boring, offering nothing special. This is something that could happen to the following titles: Röki, a point-and-click adventure with northern mythology; Wooden Nickel, a simplistic game about the Western life; Sons of Ra, a versus tower defense game; We Are the Caretaker, something that seems like it wants to be a cross between XCOM, Black and White, and a RTS game; Mighty Fight Federation, multiplayer game number 94,874; Mystic Pillars, a puzzle game that only knows one puzzle. Funnily enough, this one had already been released; and Vigil, The Longest Night, a dark 2D RPG. There are about 30 more participants that have not been mentioned by name in this video, but those could have a chance to at least break even because they are either featuring a solid or odd premise or an interesting gameplay hook. But then there are some titles that have to be mentioned specifically, either because they're really good or really bad. For this category, I specifically picked games that didn't seem to have had any hype before they put out a demo. This means no System Shock, no Carrion, and no Spiritfarer, though their appearance was much appreciated. Eastward is an adventure RPG in which you play the duo of John and Sam. One is a miner who can cook pretty good, and the other a little girl really out for adventure. In the demo you explore a forest area and have to use both characters' abilities to fight or cut open your way to the end. Meanwhile, you can find cooking recipes which you can use at cooking stations for healing options or buffs. It has the most beautiful pixel art style in the festival and plays well enough, but what remains to be seen is how the story will be, because there was no big appearance from it so far. I'll remain cautious about it.
Have you ever seen such a thing?
No, never. Must be an endemic species, and I know it wasn't here yesterday. I mean, 24 hours ago. You know what, I wonder if it's edible.
Only one way to find out.
Yes, you're right. I'll pick up some berries and run some tests. First, we'll need to observe any cutaneous reactions, and we'll cook them to eliminate bacteria.
It's peppery.
You did not.
Go ahead, try it. I'm sure you'll love it.
Haven is an exploration game with some combat elements. In it you play you and Kay, a couple on the run from the so-called apiary and now living on the Shadow Planet. First off, it looks beautiful. It's the most pleasing to the eye in the festival, and the voice acting goes well with it. It also shows a well-made and, to me, believable relationship between the two. Gameplay-wise, you explore, fill your tank by following tracks, and empty it by cleaning rust puddles scattered all over the planet. And cook apple juice with apple juice, which you can also find in the world. There's only one enforced enemy encounter which leaves little impression on the combat. You control both in it and can either make him do separate actions or do a duo attack for massive damage. It doesn't seem that deep and could play second fiddle to the exploration, which is more than fine by me. It's a very interesting title which blew me away, and I'll keep an eye out.
I'm sure he felt that.
Skateboard is the game I looked the least forward to in the first festival, mainly because it looked more like a novelty item than a good game. And you know what? This game is pure rubbish. It's, without a doubt, the worst game in the whole lineup. And I don't want to hear any more about it. I don't want to talk about it in any detail because everything just feels bad. And I only want to put out a major warning because I want to keep as many people as possible away from it. If you want to play an unfinished skating game on Steam, play Session. You will have to play for a skate mindset rather than a Tony Hawk mindset, but it's the better game. I faintly remember a game from the 90s called Windsor Deluxe. In it, your task was to set up a vineyard, grow wine, sell the wine and outwit your competition. I was never really good at it, but I still tried over and over again. This is why 100 Days gained my interest, because it's once again a game about managing a vineyard. On this 5x5 field, you try to play as many cards as possible to max out your output and try to refine your production to your best knowledge to have a good wine to sell, all while keeping the seasons in mind which limit your options. It also has a small taste of Game Dev Tycoon in it when you try to create the wine, as you have various factors to mind while processing, which will have an effect on your wine's ratings at the wine tasting event. Solid managing meets a simplistic and easy to follow gameplay loop. If you like having a vineyard but want to avoid the work that comes with it, 100 Days is a very good alternative to it. One of my favorite mobile game series is The Room, where you try to find a way to fully unlock the box put in front of you. It later developed into full-on room exploring and just now received a VR game. Moncage takes the box and puts an echochrome spin on it by making a good chunk of its puzzles also based on the perspective of the various sides of the box, as each side shows an entirely different scenario, all connected to the life of one person whose life story can be discovered through pictures lying around everywhere. It's a marvel to look at and a solid puzzle game. If you like games like The Room and Echochrome, Moncage is a game for you. Yeah, no, I'm cheating a bit here. At least I think that I am. Ember comes to us from Muse Games, the team behind Guns of Icarus. In this all-new app-related apocalypse, every public service is being done per app. This includes firefighting, where you come in. You're a new user of the app and try to help out with various fires while also trying to save everyone and their money. One can see that this is very unfinished because it works well alone, but when you try to play multiplayer, everything breaks. Sometimes the loading screen never goes away when you start a mission, and you only know where you are when you open up the escape menu. Fires become uncontrollable, sometimes your equipment is unavailable and you can't see the fire, and sometimes... yeah, this needs a lot of work, but it could be fun when it works. Going Under is the unusual combination of a roguelite and Dead Rising, where you try to fight off goblins in the basements of failed companies, and your weapon is whatever you can get your hands on. This has been a very entertaining title, and it's mostly due to the Dead Rising component that forces you to think on your feet while you have a constantly changing loadout. While the cheeky look at startups has also helped a bit. It looks like one of those titles you can return to every now and then. Here we have something along the lines of The Witness that's coming out this month. In Filament, you explore a space vessel and try to save its last survivor, who tells you the story of the ship, the company you work for, and its crew while you puzzle your way to her. The one-sided dialogue has a lot of comedy behind it. It's trying to be very upbeat while you're alone out there. And the music track that's constantly repeating never reaches the territory of really annoying you. The puzzles themselves never go beyond a robot, a rope and some light, but the developers found enough variation in the concept to still create engaging puzzles, which always have you thinking. If you like games like The Witness and don't mind a more comedic tone to games like The Witness, you will be sure to find enjoyment in Filament. And this concludes our journey into the Steam Games Festivals. I do hope that you found something to your liking. I, on the other hand, am going to chill out here in space. So, until next time when I find a game that's worth making a video about. This video took far too long to make.